Hey friends. Um, it is 11:58 at night on Monday night. I had a bunch of stuff I needed to do, including what I thought was a doctor's appointment today. It turned out I had it wrong on my calendar. It's tomorrow, so I'll have to go back tomorrow because the doctor wasn't even there. They'd just seen me. But she actually wasn't working there today. She was at another facility today. So, yeah. Um, If you remember, I made this little, the last time I was with you guys doing paper, I made this little waterfall journal. And I told you probably I would have to take it back apart again where we had stitched it up, and sewn it in order to decorate it. And that's exactly what I did do. But this past week has been, I know that as chronic folks, we sometimes hit times where we've got a lot going on. And it's kind of hard sometimes to wade our way through it. I had kind of one of those weeks myself last week, and it's going to be okay. I just had a weird week. Some challenges and some things, and I'm figuring out how I'm going to deal with it. And that's okay. We're getting there. Everybody's got things they face. I'm no exception. Anyway, I sit down. I have got this gorgeous trim. I don't have it close enough that I can get it, I don't think. No, I don't see it. It's way over there somewhere in the trims. But anyway, I have this beautiful trim. It's these things kind of interwoven together and make a long string of them. And they're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this is a beautiful trim. So what I did was, when I made this thing, if you remember, I mentioned that on some pages, especially on the covers, we want to strengthen that a little bit so that it's not too flimsy. Because if you look, okay, that had something on it. This is a piece of paper. That is like copy paper, basically. And if you move that around a dozen times, you're going to start curling the edges. You're going to start getting creases in it. You're going to start, if you don't tear it, but you're going to wear it out much, much quicker than what we would like to do. So what I did was, this piece of paper here was just like the rest of these, just a flimsy little piece of paper. And so what I did was I created a pocket that covers the entire size. I took a really pretty little journal card, just inked it up and put it on here and created a pocket with it instead. What I also did was I took a little piece of washi tape and I reinforced the spine piece, because that also is going to get a lot of, on the cover especially, that's going to get a lot of wear and tear. And so it needs to be strengthened and stabilized so that you don't have it where it, comes apart and starts falling apart. These are things that you have to think about anytime you make any kind of a project. And they're just little things. But if it doesn't have an actual, cover, say, this is one of my favorite things. I can't wait to make a journal out of this. Rebecca did the beading last week. By the way, I'm so grateful y'all had fun with that, and she is really excited. She is already starting to work on a really cool project. There are some things that she knows how to make that she was going to share that are just, she insists that they are not real difficult. Which I was like, okie dokie. I don't know the first thing. I don't even know how to I know in concept how to put a few things together, but I've never done it before. So I really have zero experience on beading. So she is, working on getting some more projects together for us, and I'm really excited about that. She was absolutely delighted. So thank you all for giving her such a warm welcome. Another thing that she does that is seriously cool, she does quilting, and making things like, tote bags, and she makes these cool little baskets that are made of cloth. They're not like the ones that you do and go in circles. She does make those, but these are actual sewn together baskets that have things that make them sit upright and flat and the sides go right, and they're really, really cool. So there's a lot of different things. One of the things that she does so beautifully is she makes scrap quilts. And I mean literally like pieces of fabric that are not any bigger than an inch or two. And she has a way that she literally puts all that stuff together and creates a fabric that becomes something she can cut blocks out of. And it's so cool. She has tried to explain to me exactly what she does, and there is a part of me that understands in principle what it looks like. I actually did quilting for quite some time. But in my brain, I'm thinking, how in the world are you making that where it actually fits and yet still looks as not like you just made a bunch of rows of something. It's all different ways, and it's really cool. But it doesn't look like she just put things together. It looks like she actually did something seriously to put things together. So I asked her if we could maybe do a video on that sometime, because I haven't sat down with her and watched her actually do that. So I would really love to do that and just get a visual of what it looks like. But anyway, she gave me this. She had a little scrap of fabric from where she had made some stuff. She had it left over from a quilt block or something. And she was like, I really don't, unless I just make this into scraps, I don't have anything to do with it. And I'm like, oh, I'll show you what to do with that. And so she gave me, it was just a little piece of fabric, little. And I was able to create a book cover for this out of that little piece of fabric. I made this. This cover is one that I made, I believe this is out of chipboard. And it will hold 3 little signatures. And I've already punched the holes for the signatures. They're in here already. But it'll hold, in the end, it'll hold 3 little signatures. And it'll be like a full-blown little journal, just in kind of a miniature size, which is really fun to do. Making unique things like that is a lot of fun. I really don't remember if I have ever shown y'all any of the kind of journal stuff that I do. I'll have to do that and give you an idea of how some of them can look, because they are very, very different at times. But anyway, so that's some of her paper, her fabric. This little piece is one of her little scraps that she gave me. These are really small scraps, but there are things that I can do with these that'll be really cool. And so I'm delighted she sends me home with all her little weird bits and pieces, and they are a delight for me. And so it's just really fun. But anyway, what I did on this first page, though, I wanted to reinforce the spine because this is the cover and it needs extra strength. I also wanted to strengthen this whole page. So I made this pocket that is designed to, this just doubled and more because this is a cardstock piece. This just thoroughly reinforced this whole piece. This is now very stable. And then I took this other little coordinating piece and popped it down here to make a little bit of a framed background, and then pop this on top of it. And I don't know if I'm done with this part yet or not. I may do a little bit more on that. But, it was fun just looking at it. And then this, I wanted to get some basic things going in this journal, where we, it's not necessarily, okay, I just put this down and made a pocket with it. It was just a little paper piece that I had actually torn some paper off of it to use in something else. And I was just like, I loved the little horse on here. So I went ahead and just took it and popped me down a little pocket there. This page doesn't have to be as strong as that one because it's not the cover piece. It's protected. All but this front little corner of it is protected. And I'm debating if I want to... I rounded the corners on this page because I didn't want the square corners on the cover, because that is one of those, you put square corners on your cover and it's a lightweight thing, they're going to get mangled very quickly unless you put either those corner things, the metal ones that you can buy, or some way to really seriously reinforce the corners. They're going to get mangled. And so I just wanted to round that one off. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it on these or not, because then you have to do it all the way down. And not all of this paper is going to need that. Anyway, I just tossed a pocket down here. I just thought I would sit down and think my way through some things and maybe find some stuff. I was going to show you some of the stuff that's, my desk is a disaster, I swear. There is so much bits and pieces where I was, what I was thinking about doing, they have, okay, we make these things, they're called clusters. And what you do is you take different kinds of paper. I had pulled out some of this brown wrapping paper, and I thought, you know, I'd just like to do something with this. So I tore up a bunch of it in the concept of doing some of the clusters. And I got a bunch of stuff torn up and grabbed a bunch of stuff out of a drawer. And then I had some other things come up that I had to give my attention to in order to keep myself functioning in life. And so anyway, had to tend to some things and figure them out. And but so I didn't really get back to this very well, and I was a little bit discouraged because I didn't get back to it like I wanted to, and that was kind of disappointing because I was feeling very guilty, honestly, that I had let y'all down. And I realized that I am not perfect, and sometimes I deal with things that are a little overwhelming too. And there is, I hope, benefit for everyone in allowing me to be vulnerable and to just be real. Because maybe that'll help you with something you're dealing with. So anyway, I do apologize that I didn't get our Mayday Monday up in time, but life happened, and I had to tend to things to keep my world put together. I'm just looking at this. I like using the craft paper. I like using book page, especially this kind of book page. This is really old, fragile book page. If I were to try to make something sturdy out of this, it would literally, as you can see, it would fall apart, because this came apart very easily. And it's a very old, you can see the yellowing on it. It's out of one of those, I don't know what book it's out of. I think it's a, I don't know. It's out of an old book that I had. I find them everywhere at the libraries and that kind of thing. And so I grab them and, you know, cannibalize them, and they make wonderful things. So I was just going to sit here and kind of put together some little clusters the other day. And what I'd started looking at was like using the brown paper, and then maybe a bit of book page, and then maybe something with a little bit of color to it. And I didn't know if I wanted to use, one thing I did think about was I wanted to use some like labels or words or things like that. And I realized I didn't have anything. I mean, nada. I didn't have anything like that printed out. And I started to go to the Etsy, which I really could not afford to do. And then I changed my mind, and I thought, you know, I'm going to go dig through all the images that I have collected up over the last few years, and see if there's anything in there I can use. And I did find some things I could use. This is not the best thing in the world, but hey, it's something. And then I had a whole bunch of these things with little label shapes on them, with words and numbers and things like that. And these can be really fun to use when you're decorating stuff. Here's some. Like, these all pretty much look the same, but they're all different words. So, you know, lots of different words. And you can use words on things. That's sometimes really nice. Now, these are teeny tiny. I accidentally printed them landscape when I was supposed to print them portrait. So I came out with some teeny tiny words. And I know good and well I will use these. So I did not throw those away, because there are places where a teeny tiny label would be just absolutely perfect. And I had a bunch of old label things that you could print out. And I thought, I'm going to print one of these out. This was the small size of one of them. They came in two sizes. You had the same stuff, but it was way bigger. I mean, like almost twice the size of what everything on here is. And so you had a large size and you had a small size. And the large size had less stuff on it. There's a few things that they added to make up the space that they lost in the small size. But there's interesting things, you know. This has got all kinds of stuff. It's little ads for stores, and, you know, here's something that's like says it's a packing slip. What else we got here? Sometimes I find them with like pharmacy things. Some of this is in French, I think. Let's see here. I don't have good light. That's what the other part of this is. There's just all different kinds of little things. There's things that look like a check or a receipt. And then you can cut those out. And when you're making like a cluster like this, you can go in and you can have this, and then you can find something with some color to it. You know, maybe a little scrap of some kind of paper of some sort. I don't want to tear that one. Here we go. I've got some cute stuff down here. This is actually really cute, and it's just a little scrap of it. I've used up almost all of this paper that I had. But to take something like this, and this is really heavy paper too. This is like a rag paper or something. And you could take something like that and stick it in there. And you could stick it on top, or you could take and stick it like underneath and let it stick out part of the way. Like that. And then pop your book page down. And so they kind of, things don't have to be in the lines. This is one of the beauties. When you're making clusters, anything goes. And then while you're doing that, you could go through and get a little bit of lace. Here's some lace that has some little pearls on it. You could cut off just a little snippet of that and stick it down. And then maybe then you want to add a word or a little, you know, something, because it needs to be pretty small. This is a small cluster. So you might take like one of these little things and take and cut out one of those and just put it down on there. They're really fun to make, and they're easy, and it's one of those, there are you think there's no rules in junk journals. There is seriously no rules when it comes to making clusters. I mean, clusters are just, they're just fun. That's all there is to it. And a lot of people do clusters when they're cleaning off their desk. They will just sit down and pile everything up that's on their desk and see what they can put with it to make some clusters. Here's some lace that's a lot smaller than this one. So if I didn't like that great big lace, I could take and come in here and do something like that. And then just put a little snippet of this small lace on it. And this one has a little ink on the lace. But yeah, you could put down a little piece of lace, and then maybe get you, you know, I've got a little piece of flat pearls here, little small flat pearls. Stick a couple of those on there. And basically what you're doing is you're creating a little decoration that when you go in and make like a pocket like this, where where I've made this pocket, not that one, because that one has a specific thing to it, but like where I stuck this together to make a pocket. You could decorate it by sticking one of these little clusters on it. You know, just like that kind of thing. And it would have the little bit of lace or the little trim or, you know, whatever. Maybe a piece of ribbon or something. I mean, it just has little things on it. And then you can stick it on there, and it becomes a really pretty little focal point. And something that can be, you know, something to kind of spruce up. Like if you had a pocket you were making. Okay, I've got some paper here that this is, actually I made a journal card with this, but this paper has like pieces of flower petals in it. And you can see there's a little flower petal right there. And so this paper has got some beautiful elements to it, but it is just a plain, kind of a cream colored paper, just with all these little flecks of stuff in it. And so to make that a little more exciting, you know, you might want to add something like a little cluster that you made, and that would be something that would sit on there. And like I said, sometimes you can stick a little flower on the front of it. You know, maybe here's a little piece of lace here. I mean, not lace, but ribbon. You know, cut out a little snippet of ribbon and glue that on there. They're just, I mean, whatever you want to do. Just look for whatever's on your desk and just don't even think about it. Just slap it down there and you'll be amazed at how cool it comes out. And I've got like these little pearl stringy thingies. You know, you could stick a little bit of those on one. I mean, there's just so much you can do with them. But then you take that little thing and you lay it down on this plain paper, and all of a sudden this plain paper is no longer plain. It has a beautiful little focal point that creates an element for you with that. So if you're using this, now this is not one I would use for a pocket because this is one it's already attached to a cardstock. So it's intended to be made into a journal card, but or a tag. But it's just, you could, if you had some paper that looks like that or whatever, any kind of paper, and you wanted to just kind of spruce it up some, there's you a way to spruce it up. And it's really, really easy to do. I mean, really, really easy to do. I will have to sit down and mass cut some of this stuff to get me a few things to work with. Because there's just, I just sat down and printed out several pages of this to play with. This has got little quotes on it. Let's see. Life is a collage of memories and experience. These are for a little bit, you could put that on a pocket or you could put that on something else. These are a little bit larger, whereas what I'm doing here is pretty small. This little one here might fit, but most of the time on these little guys, you would need something smaller. A little word or little thing that looks like these look like a little ledger or a receipt, whatever. So anyway, that's just the concept. And what I was going to do is work on, oh yeah, also years ago I got these things and I really haven't used them for anything, which is pathetic, I know. They've been sitting around in a drawer forever. And what I was thinking of is, this is another thing that I could incorporate some of these pieces and put them into some clusters. They need to be a little bit bigger than what these are. That I got to tear a few pieces. I've got some brown paper sitting right over there. I have to tear up some paper that's a little bit larger than this, maybe about that big, because these things are individually, they're like, that big. And what I would like to do is perhaps make it so that I used a piece of this or a part of it, maybe tear off a little of it or tear it kind of crooked or whatever. Make it so that it looks, and ink it and get it to look a little more worn, and then put that down as part of your focal point for your cluster. Because it's like these, what you're made to do with these is to fold them up or to put them in and to put them in a pocket. It's intended, one of its intentions, they're intended for you to do whatever the heck you want to with them. But one of the things that people will do with them is, tear it loose. And then for a small pocket like this, this is one of the things that they could stick into a small pocket. But when you're decorating, you can also use this as an element. Say you've got a large pocket, like on this piece of paper right here. If I wanted to do a large angled pocket, something, pretty good sized, I could take a piece like this. I don't think I would use that because it's embossed. Embossed paper is a little bit more challenging to work with when you start layering things up and stuff, simply because it has such a heavy texture to it that it makes it a little difficult. Anyway, this is not really what I would use, but you get the idea. What you do is you create that triangle, for whatever size you want on your paper, and you end up cutting that out and shaping it for the triangle. Normally you'll do a square and cut it in half, and use the other half somewhere else on that in the same project or a different one, doesn't matter. But, you would have a pocket that's going like this way, that you would create, and that gives you a pretty good sized thing. You could actually, on a good sized piece of paper, well, you could fold this down one, but you could on a, in a regular sized journal, you could use these things, the whole thing. Or you could take and do like this and fold them up, and stick them down in a pocket. It's just, but I have had these things sitting around for years, and I'm like, I need to start using these. They're very, very pretty. There's floral things, there's butterflies, there's some insects, there's just birds, bunnies. There's so much stuff in here. It's like, that is tons of little pieces of art that I could be doing something with. Because like I said, you can tear these on angles and stuff to make them a completely different thing. So it's not just a ticket, it's something completely different. It's actually, you tear it off, and you can even tear it off and put a little frame around it or something and turn it into something else. So when you buy supplies, or if you buy a supply, don't consider that it can only be used in the way that, it was being used when you saw the example of why you bought the thing. because there actually are many, many other things that you can do with supplies of all different kinds that takes them outside the box of what, they might have been marketed to do, and creates a delightful second life for it, so to speak. Okay, now that is pretty close to the size there. I'll have to take off a little bit of it. I was going to make that diagonal pocket on here real quick while we're talking. And no, I'm not going to finish anything tonight because I am in the mood to really get creative and start doing some work on this. I've got this, and I've got another book that I am dying to finish. I don't know if I've ever shown you this. Ugh, pardon me. This is a journal I've been working on for quite a while. And it's about 75% through. And it has a lot of stuff in it that has kind of a nautical flair to it. Oops, upside down. My bad. At least I think it is. Hang on. I'll find out in a minute. Nope, it was right side up. My little house was just upside down. I mean, this little house, it's not quite finished yet. It still has some decorating to do on the front of it. But I just pieced it together real quick. This is actually an envelope that, it's a little bit, to me, it's a little bit heavy. I think I would rather do it with a slightly different envelope or use a slightly different paper. These are fairly heavy cardstocks that are on it, and I think it makes it a little bit too firm because you have to do multiple layers all over the place, and to have them all be heavy, I think this is one of my first ones. So I think that for future ones, what I would rather do is maybe use one, or let the envelope be the stiffness for it. And instead of having it be quite so stiff, because this is really stiff. Here, I have to, like, you can see I'm pulling it open to make it work. But instead of that, have it where it has a little more flexibility, and then be a little more comfortable flipping around doing things. And so that's something that, I'm going to work on another one of those. That's not the one that's going to end up going in this journal. It was just one that had similar stuff, and I wanted to keep it safe. And, okay, I used this is, some coral paper that I had. And I did use a lot of different things for pages in this book. There's, as you can see, this is a tuck in of one. But there are different things. There's, this is, of course, scrapbook paper. And there's part of a pattern and notebook paper. I found something I printed when I was printing out stuff. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I can't wait to do something with it. I found a pattern that I had saved on my, in my images folder. And it was to make this like first grade writing paper. And I am just so delighted. I am going to do something with this. I'm seriously thinking of printing up several sheets of this and putting it in, cutting it down, and like for that little journal that I was showing the cover for a minute ago, the one that's right over here, this little guy. It would be so cute to take this paper and cut it down to the size that would go in this notebook. Because, you'd get like at least 2 pages, if not possibly 3, depending on how you cut it. But I want it to be this direction, so that it's the right direction, not the wrong direction. I don't want it to go that way. I want it to go this way, so that it's easy for somebody to use each little line as a line, or whatever they want to do to jot down things in, and then decorate from there. But I think it'd be so much fun to make some signatures out of this paper. And in a little notebook like this, where I've got, going to have 3 signatures, maybe a part of each signature be out of this kind of paper, and then other things too. But I just thought that was so cute. Like, whoever sees first grade writing paper and uses it in a journal, it happens, when you can find it, it's fun to do. So anyway, this is, it's got, like I said, there's quite a bit of scrapbook paper in here. This is like out of a Shell Seashore little, I think Golden Book makes them, but it's a guide for types of shells and the little critters that live in them. And like I have a little journal card that's not finished yet, but that's going to live in there with the mermaids. And, you know, there's a little piece of coffee dyed paper. Here's a piece out of a encyclopedia. You know, it's just in some parchment paper. There's just all kinds of stuff in here. The only thing that is consistent all the way through on my things is I typically have made it my practice to make a to put a piece of what do you call it? Dang, brain fart. A piece of adult coloring page at the center of my signatures each time. So that's the only consistency that you typically see with what I use. And like when I made these pages, I sat down and took a whole bunch of different stuff and I put it in stacks, and then I started kind of organizing it according to size and how it would work. And then I made like 9 or 10 signatures at one time. You talk about, that was a lot. But things like, you know, having the little envelope in it. I wanted to have envelopes in here, so I did. This is another little envelope in here with some journal cards in it. And I just printed it down pretty with some lace. And then on this side, fixed up a little thing with some shells, you know. And I found some kids' seashore stencils. And I kind of played around throughout with these kids' seashore things as well. And it makes a really fun, because technically, when you do this and you don't do it so bold or so dark, as far as like a, you know, a color that you can't see ink through, you can still use this as a journal page and just write right on through it. And it's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, I mean, here's another golden book. Golden Exploring Earth book, Oceanography. And this is from, let's see here, 1959. First copyrighted 1955. Yes. So, and then there's this beautiful illustration on the back. And I mean, these are just pretty little tidbits that I found that have that same ocean flavor to them. And I just tuck them in. And this is part of how you decorate. You go through and you do decorate the journal itself, but part of what you're doing there is you're also creating a place that you can stash really cool things that will spark the imagination of the person who has gotten that journal, and it's theirs. That's one of the most fun things in the world. There was a journal that I made for a lady last year, and she told me some things that she wanted. She wanted certain types of artwork that she was interested in, concept-wise. And then she really liked a couple of different colors. She only had a couple of colors she just really didn't feel like she'd want to have in there. But most of the rest she was fine, but certain things were her favorites. And she kind of, you know, gave me that feel of what she was interested in. And from there I was able to sit down and put her together a gorgeous, and I mean, okay, we have a thing called a gator mouth. This is going to be a gator mouth by the time it's done. You can see the spine on this book is not that big. But when you start filling it full of stuff, by the time it is finished, it'll probably be about yay big. At least. And it'll be, you know, we affectionately call him a gator mouth because it's like, you know, you couldn't fit anything else in here if you wanted to. But this is part of the decorating process. It's not just that you sit down and you, you know, do stuff and, you know, put together some pages. You actually sit down and truly create a work of art. My favorite center page was in this one. I don't know if you can see all this or not. I'm trying to get it in frame. This beautiful koi. And the page was too big and I couldn't, you know, did not want to get rid of this or cut off any of that. So what I did, I stitched it in with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but I did not stitch in this portion. I folded it up. I missed the last hole with this. I didn't take this last hole because it would have interfered with me being able to open and close it. So with that last hole not put in there that way, I went in a different pattern. I was able to preserve this and have the whole sheet be left there and not be used up. And so, I mean, you know, and here you go. I just found some little old, very old friend of mine gave me some stuff from her mom. It was a big shoebox like thing full of very, very old cards, and, you know, envelopes and cards and that kind of thing. So I pulled some of there were some seashore things in there. I just pulled a few of them to sprinkle in and out here and there. And like this thing, you know, I used a beautiful, this has got like, it's an undersea pattern of scrapbook paper. It's intended to have like bubbles there. And I just took one of those tickets, a different type, but a ticket, and made myself a little pocket with it. Stuck me a little word on there, and I found this cute little puppy girl. And it's a teeny tiny journal card, and I just stuffed it right down in there. Made myself a tag. If you notice, your tags typically have the little angled corners at the top. You can do it at the tops and the bottoms, but they're always that way at the tops. Sometimes the bottoms will be rounded, sometimes they'll be pointed, sometimes they'll be trimmed this way, just whatever you want to do. And then I just stuck it right in there because I just thought that was adorable. So yeah, as you're doing things throughout this book, by the time I'm finished with this thing, there will be very few pages that don't have decorative stuff on them. This is the coolest thing ever. I came across, and there was some old books that I found at the library, and this was tucked inside one of them. It is a combination rowing, sailing, and outboard motorboat. And this is the blueprint, the sketch of the blueprint. It's not the actual full blueprint, but it's the sketch of what the blueprint was on front and back and how this boat was going to look. And it was like, to me, that's just the coolest find ever. And so, yeah, it had to come in here to this journal to live, because this is one of those, oh, this is the kind of pocket I was talking about earlier. You go in there, you go at an angle. But yeah, this was, you know, it makes it so you can stick bigger things in your pockets with less hassle. That's the point of it, being that way. But yeah, this is, you know, when you're starting to actually decorate things like this, you know, I put 2 little triangle pockets, and I just slid one of these pretty little pages out of that little golden book, seashell guide, because it's an actual, you know, like a birding guide or whatever, you know, but it's for the ocean. And I just took it here, tucked it in there, tucked the other half of it up here, and it'll rest right here in the center and look absolutely adorable. So there's so much stuff that you can do. And this is what I'm working on with this thing. So this is the next book that I hope to finish. And I have been a little short on inspiration on it at times in the recent past, but I'm kind of getting the groove back on for it. So I'm really excited about getting it done. And I'll share more with you about it as I complete it. But this is what I'm saying. When you look at this stuff, you don't have to have everything right up front. You do not have to know what you're going to do with every bit of this when you first make the journal. If you do, you've probably way overthought it. And frankly, as you go through and you start doing stuff, and you start seeing how things are coming together. I did not plan this little flower there. I just happened to glance over, and it was sitting at the top of the stack of little spool bobbin. No, they're those long plastic things. I don't know what they're called, but they've got lace wound about them, and they hold on to your lace to keep it from going everywhere. So I just happened to glance over and see this, and I was like, I wonder how that would look. And I just picked it up and brought it over. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's lovely. I'm going to do that. And then I had to, you know, decide how I was going to make it so that this thing would be strong enough to be a cover, which is why I did that with the washi. Washi tape is like masking tape, basically. Only it's usually decorative. Since I have some purple hues in here, I just went with one of my little small purple ones and popped that in there so that it could be a little reinforced. But yeah, I mean, it's just, this is what we're doing. And it's really, it is a lot of fun. I enjoy it so much. I was going to look through here real quick because I think on that red that maybe some, well, I like these because they're kind of black and white. Do one of those. Hang on, I gotta get this off of here. That's just a piece that doesn't actually, it's part of the how it's packaged, so it's not part of the actual thing, so I usually just tear that off and chuck it. So you've got this thing. Now obviously if I set that in there like that, that is way too long for this book, but I could possibly put it in kind of like that, you know, and turn it down. Let's see if it fits then. I may have to completely make it where it's, you know, teeny tiny. Oh, come on now. Be nice. Play with me nice. Why are you being such a nuisance? Hold on. I gotta figure out what's up with this pocket. There. Nothing's up with that pocket. It's just being ornery about going under it. Okay, that makes me feel better. At least I know I didn't like accidentally glue it down the wrong direction or something. Okay, that's still going to stick out. So what I'm inclined to do is fold it back like this and kind of straighten it out so it's all nice and straight, which is easy to do when it's this kind of flimsy paper, and then slide it in there. Now I will put some other things in there probably. In fact, I'm sure I will. I don't know what yet, but I'll make some other things to go down inside of here. And you'll have, you know, there'll be 2 or 3 things in here. And then I may make a little cluster or something to go like down on the side of this, something like that. It just depends. I gotta look at it and see how it feels. And like I said, there's, God, I've got so much crap on my desk. And because I was digging around trying to find some stuff. I just realized I also saw today where I'd stuck my sari silk. I gotta go grab that too, out of the back bedroom where I've got some of my crafting supplies stored. But yeah, we're gonna make some more things in here. And I just thought, okay, there's a pocket there, there's a pocket there. What can I do with this? I want to do something a little bit different. So I need to think about that for a minute probably, because I don't want to just do another pocket. I want to make something cute. Let me think on that one a second. There's a couple of things that are kind of floating around in my brain that might work. Let me continue on. So I have, each page is getting a little bit larger. So if I have something I'd like to do that needs a slightly larger page, go back into it, back this direction. And that will help you to be able to get it to work better. And then they're going to start getting, now they're going to reverse so that this side has the printed side and this side has the plain side. And anyway you go still, you've got this folded over piece that you have to make the waterfall work. See, without it, you'd have white showing through on all of these down here, and it would look silly. It wouldn't be appealing at all. So what I'm thinking of, I didn't want to do, now in a regular journal, you'll use, a lot of times you'll use really pretty trims for your pages. In this particular one, because of this waterfall design, you want that to be being seen. You don't want to hide the waterfall. You want it to be front and center feature. And in that respect, I would be inclined to not put any kind of an outer page trim. If I do any kind of things that are sticking out over the page, I am probably going to do them on this top side. If I do a tab, like for a page, make a cute little tab. Actually, you can make tabs out of these things too. That's another use you can use. So you get a little thing like this and you can come up with 50 different ways to use it in no time flat. But if you put a tab or something like a place marker for something, or maybe you've got a design that is going to come out just a little bit above it when it's finished, then you do it all in the same area, like all at the top. And you're going to have them staggered. They would be staggered like going down this way, just like it would be if you had a journal with tabs on the sides, and they'd be staggered going down the page that direction. And that would actually look really cute, especially if you have with your tabs some decorative things, like use a little lace with your tab, use a little, ribbon, or some little, decorative things. Even just use some cute little papers. it's so many things that you can do. And, you know, you can go through. There is one that I want to use. Let me see if I can see it over here real quick. Actually, I know where I can do it from. Here, this is faster. I was packaging up some papers, some trims, and I was thinking of putting in my little Etsy shop so that you could get like, these are 12 to 14 inch cuts off of the different trims. And I was thinking of doing like, 5 for $5 or something, just really, really inexpensive. Because these trims, the cheapest one is like $5 to $6. They go all the way up to almost $20 a yard. So these were, they have a lot of different uses. And that is absolutely gorgeous. It's little rosette kind of things. So if I was going to use that somewhere, I don't know that I'll do it on this because of the way that this paper is, the way it's doing. If you get too much bulk in here, it's going to start making things lay funny, and you may lose your waterfall effect because the paper starts getting distorted in how it's sitting, and it creates weirdness in that waterfall effect. This is not like any regular journal. You normally don't have to worry about things like that at all. Normally you can just go to town, do anything you want. With this style of a journal, I want to be aware of how thick things are, as well as where they land on the pages, so that they don't interfere with the waterfall effect. And that is something you don't usually have to do. So this is really an interesting little book to work with. I would have to see how big something like this. Yeah, that's going to see how much that elevates that page. That pulls that page way on out, which is going to be, what it does is, whether it distorts the effect or not, it distorts it by virtue of the fact that it creates a lump. And now you're not having that smooth transition all the way down. You've got big old bulky pieces. So on this kind of a thing, with that situation, I would not use this at all. I would just steer clear of it. What I'm going to choose are things that are more flat, instead of something like this that's all bulky. And I've got tons of things that are flat, so that's probably what I'll do. And I don't feel like I'm getting anything done tonight, but I feel like we're having fun looking at stuff and understanding some concepts. Like, I pulled out, this is another one. Now this one, I probably wouldn't use this in this one because it's very firm. But this one, think about it, on a regular book page, that would be gorgeous along there. So there's just a lot of stuff. If I do put that stuff out in my Etsy shop, if y'all are interested, I'll tell you about it. I wanted it to be very inexpensive so that someone who is needing trims can get them at a very reasonable, very cheap price, and yet get some really nice stuff. Because I have got some beautiful trims in here. This thing is just amazing. Look at the size of this. That is gorgeous, by the way. But this, that trim is way bigger than this book. But on a full-size journal, something like this, going around the cover, starting on one side of your book cover, coming around and going around to the other side, and then, work up your designs, working along with something like this in the way of a trim, that can be absolutely fabulous. We are talking some next level pretty. And so it just delighted me that I could find, these trims and be able to offer them at such a cheap price, because I got them at good deals when Joann's was closing. And this is just beautiful. It's kind of a gray. Now, see, this kind of a lace I could use in this little thing because it's flat and it's thin. It's very fine. It's like a little soft, I don't even know what this is, a tulle or something? I don't know what it is. It's very soft and fine. And then you've got just the little embroidered design on the lace. So like if I put this, say I went in here on a page, and for whatever reason, I went in here and I wanted to put some of this on a page, maybe as a trim, like go in this direction and do something with it, or go in, this direction and do something with it, I would be able to do that and not increase the volume. So these are the things you're looking for when you're planning out, how am I going to decorate this? It's not just, oh, I want to make something with that big fluffy flower like I had over there. You got to figure out, is this the right journal for that? Can this journal do it justice? Or will it cause the journal to not be, its best? And that's all part of the thing, is figuring out what's really good for that particular effect or for that particular fabric. Like, is this pretty? This is thin enough. I think you could use it on this little journal. I've got the bolts of these things over there on my table. These I should just cut out the pieces to go in those packets, and they were much, it's much less. But see, this is pretty, but it's very flat. It's not going to cause, this stuff's flat. It's not going to cause a bulk here. You can put that in there. It has a little bit of presence, but you could work around that. That's something that's small enough. And it's not glued down right now either, so it's just out there minding its own business, doing whatever it likes to do. But still, it would be less than those little roses were. So, yeah, this is just stuff that you want to look at and figure out while you're decorating. So, let's say that I wanted to do, something. I don't know. I've got to find some things to cut out and make, do the fussy cutting with. Because I just don't have enough focal point items in my stash right now. I've depleted them down and I haven't replenished them. So I've got to figure out some stuff and pull it and, make some things. And that's just, you got to take the time to sit down and do it on occasion. And I just haven't. So anyway, and you could look at, you can use ribbons and stuff in these easily because they are, they're flat. There's just so much stuff you actually can use. And this is pretty little stuff. It's sparkly as all get out. But, and it's thin enough, it's flat enough that you could use something like this too. Same with these little light colored laces. If you're coming in here on one of these pages that's got white on it, and you're going and adding in different things there, you can change the whole look of the page just with nice little thin laces. So, anyway, I am going to sit here and have some fun and encourage you to have some fun. And I don't know if you ended up making one of those little books like this one, because this was a little bit complex. I have to admit, this was not as easy as I thought it would be. As far as like getting these papers to line up and organize and work right, that takes some time and figuring them out and getting them to where they line up right. So that's not necessarily something you got to do. I honestly think one of the easiest things to do would just be get you one of those, like you can use either a journal or you could take a book and do a book, like a small, not huge, I wouldn't suggest huge, but you could do and go through and do things like when you're doing a book, you're going to take and combine pages, some of them. You're going to glue some of them together to make a thicker page that you can work with. You're also going to very gently take out pages so that it has room to be developed without it being, this big. You need to have some space. So when you're doing one of those, actually, I'll look into that to do a video on how you do those actually. And because that's something, everybody's got a junk book at the house, something you've read 3 times and you are, or nobody wanted to read it after you got it. It was a crappy story. After you brought it home, turned out it wasn't interesting at all. Everybody has books like that. It's just part of, reading. And you could take a book like that even. Or what's really fun too is take maybe a children's book. I have got this book that I got, believe it or not, okay, all right, full disclosure here. I live in a world of sometimes serious need. For about another year after I had COVID, the company I worked for revoked my insurance. They said I needed 5 more days to qualify for insurance. And 4 months after they had paid for all this stuff, I got notification they were completely disenrolling me for the time period that I had COVID. And I ended up with over $350,000 worth of medical debt after all the discounts that everybody would give me. And no way to work. And so I ended up having to declare bankruptcy. And so, yeah, hardest thing I ever did in my life, because it really pissed me off, because I paid my bills. I didn't want to, I had gotten my degree, I'd gotten a good job, and I paid my bills. And to be put in that position, was kind of humbling. More than humbling. It was hard. And it's still hard. Not because it's hard to cope with, but just because it's hard because it doesn't leave me a lot to live on. But anyway, I had gone to one of the food distribution places, and to pick up food, and they always have some books, and they, tell you, if you can take like 2 or 3 books home with you if you'd like to, and they're just giving them away, because apparently the organization that sponsors them donates boatloads of books. So they give them away. And I picked up this little book there, and it's really cool. It has got so many nice illustrations in it. It really, I know you can't see all of this. I apologize. It's huge. It's like how big is this thing? It's a 10.5-inch tall book. It's a big book. But it has a lot of really pretty illustrations, along with like things that they wrote, stories and stuff that are in here. And so I had been wondering about some things that, I'd like to try to do to utilize some of this artwork and some of these little stories in journals, because there are some beautiful things in here. So that's another thing, when you find books like this, I don't want to glue these pages together. Heck, if I can make it so I can use both sides of this book pretty much all the time, I'm going to want to do it. They are absolutely gorgeous. But I've been watching for opportunities when I got to go through this one too for any nautical stuff and make sure there's nothing in there about sailing or boating or fishing or anything like that that would go in with my nautical theme for that one book. But yeah, this, you can find things like that. You can find, one of my favorite things is to see what people do with little golden books. They are absolutely amazing. The artwork is always so beautiful in them. And they have, just the quality is really, really nice. And you can adapt that book to turning it into a journal. There are ways that you can very gently add pages, because in that, you don't want to cover up your story pages. You want to keep those. And so you have to find creative ways to gently add pages or page extensions. Like if you've got a page in that book, hang on, let me show you something real quick here. If you have a page in the book, say whatever this page is, and I didn't want to lose that page, this is what was in my book, was this page, and it's part of the book, and like we're pretending this is a little golden book, and I don't want to lose either of these pages, but I wanted to add some stuff. Number one, there are ways that you can come in here and through these little extensions that you gently tape in, you can create a framework that holds a second page there very carefully and very firmly, so it's not going to come out. Really, really pretty too. And so there's things like that you can do. You can also do page extensions. Say, you know, you have, hang on, let me just grab a piece of scrap paper here. Let's see. Say you've got this really is a long page, because this is a 12-inch long piece of paper. We're going to pretend these are the same size. You could come in and you could, depending on what's on the back, you could either attach it here, or you could come in and attach it like in here, and you put a fold in it. You create a hinge, and then you take that hinge and you adhere it to the paper, whether it's this side folding over or that side folding back, whatever it is that makes it fit the most secure. And you would go ahead and you can do so that when you came to this page, you wouldn't have the artwork and nowhere to go. You would be able to flip it out and have a whole nother page, or flip it out and have a pretty add-on page here that you flip over and write on. There's just a whole lot of different ways that you can keep the integrity of the book and add to it. You can do things that would flip up. You can do things that will flip down. You can do things, like I said, there's ways that you can build these little, it's like, it looks like this. If I were to take a piece of paper and have it on either side of this, and it's attached into the book, and those two sides wrapped around my paper and became a part of that paper, and that paper was held in like that, like, you know, that it wrapped around it and created a sleeve like for that paper. It actually creates pages of all different kinds that you want to put in there. It creates a page where there was no page. And it also does not disturb the integrity of the book that you're trying to work with. I actually have a little golden book sitting in the bedroom on the table by the bed that I've been looking at, that I was thinking of doing that way too. And because the artwork in it is absolutely beautiful, and I don't want to ruin that artwork. So, you know, these are things that we can do. We can do those with books. We can also do those with our little bitty journal here. I wouldn't do it so much with this journal because it'll create bulk. Once again, we got to be careful about creating bulk in this particular one because we don't want to lose the integrity of that waterfall. So I'm inclined, I'm going to be doing, I will show you on that cover page. I went in and I did a little bit on the back too. I took a stencil of a dragonfly. Hang on, let me move these out of the way so you can see it. I took a stencil of the dragonfly, and I did a couple of little quick dragonfly, like they were flying across the page here. And then I also, this is a piece, you know that paper I told you about that had the flower leaves in it? This is a page of that. And it has the little flower petals in it here. And I'm not quite done with this pocket yet. I just put a little piece of ribbon on there. It's not quite finished yet. I've still got to do, that's what it got me in over into the clusters, is I needed to make some clusters for some of this really small, that don't add a lot of bulk. So that's what I was working on and kind of working my way through, because it's one thing to just build clusters. It's another thing when they got to suit a certain parameter. Then that takes more time, because you got to really figure it out. You can't just sit there and throw stuff together and make clusters. You got to make it work. And so that's what I've got to finish working on. What I did was, though, the corner here, you know, this piece here that I pulled down, that's part of what's seen here in the waterfall. What I did was I took that, left the folded over place, take this paper, slide it down inside, and attach this with glue to the paper here, and then fix your pocket along with this being part of your pocket now. And then, you know, then you've got your pocket to go through and put things in. And I had just stuck a couple of quick journal cards in there. Had a little bit of lace on the top of this one. And, you know, it's just little quickie things. And I just was sticking them in there just to see how they looked. And, you know, they were looking cute. But it's just a matter of coming up with things that, for this particular design, things that are not going to take up too much space. And it is now 1:02 in the morning, and I apologize. Yeah, it's kind of late. I'm going to make this a little shorter video. I don't even know what time it is as far as the video goes, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off because I want to work on this some. And I want to work on it with the lightweight things and making some lightweight clusters. And that way I can show you what I did with the lightweight clusters because I think they're going to be really cute. I just need to sit down and be able to put them together. So I'm going to call it a Mayday Monday evening. And I do apologize that I missed my deadline yesterday. I'm so sorry. I just had some things going on that had to be accomplished by before midnight tonight. And so everything else just kind of went to the back burner while I figured it out. And got it done. But I just had to kind of set everything else aside for a little bit. So I am really sorry. And I am working with Rebecca. She is going to be looking at another project. And I'm not going to say anything about it because it looks amazing. It's going to be really, really fun. So it'll be fun to watch even, you know. And I tell her some of them are a little bit, she's got a couple of things she's thinking about. And there's a couple of them that she might have to like pause the video for a little bit while she continues on, or swap out and do things, you know, in segments, and then swap out the, okay, here's one that's 25% finished. Here's another one that's 50% finished. I finished with showing you the 25%. Let me swap out and go to the one that's 50%, that kind of thing. So we're going to figure out the logistics of it and what works best. And I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited about that. By the way, my person in Oregon, their kids are out of school now. So hopefully in the very near future, they're going to be preparing the crochet stuff that we were going to get started on. The first project is going to be so much fun. And hopefully that'll get pulled together very quickly. And she used to have a channel of a different nature quite a few years ago, before her kids were, you know, starting to require a lot of attention. You know, while they were still little and laid down, took naps and that kind of thing. And but when it just got to be too much of a handful, the kids were more important to her than the channel, so she put the channel on hold. So she does know how to do, you know, recordings and all that kind of stuff and be very comfortable with it. And so that'll be, you know, that part of it will be easy. It's just, you know, she wants to figure out exactly how she wants to do it. And it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm really excited that we're finally starting to get to branch out a little bit. My passion may be the paper, but I still enjoy picking up a crochet hook now and again and doing stuff. Love it. And at some point in time, I'm going to take enough time out to figure out the beading thing. Because I really do want to learn it. I want to find out what you do and how to make it do something. To me, it just sounds so cool. So, thank you very much. Love you guys, and happy Mayday Monday. Even if it's a little bit belated, happy Monday. And truly, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and that things are positive and upbeat, because my week has turned around pretty well for the moment. You know, I got to wait and see how all this turns out, but I've at least done what I needed to do to set a ball in motion. And so that's cool. I just feel really comfortable and confident that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's an awesome feeling. It really is. All right, guys. Love you dearly. Y'all have a wonderful week. Be sure and, you know, comment if there's something you want to hear about or something you want to do, or you know, anything. Feel free to comment. Frankly, I am the social butterfly enough that it doesn't disturb me personally what kind of traffic I'm getting, how many people are doing it. I know that I am reaching out to my people, my tribe, and I want to be there with them and for them, and help us. We help each other find new and fun ways to create some happiness in our lives on a day-to-day basis. So that's my vision, and I want to see us go there. So love y'all. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. I'm sure I will not be late next week. All right. Bye-bye.